Sayın hocalarım, sevgili öğrenciler, hoş geldiniz. İlk oturumun 3 sunum dinleyeceğiz. İngiliz Dili ve Edebiyatı Bölümünden 4 tane öğrencimizin sunumlarını dinleyeceğiz. İlk Sefa Furkan Yılmaz ile başlayacağız. Disembodied Consciousness, a Human-Centered Ontology in Be Right Back. Daha sonra Esra Çalık, İngiliz Dili ve Edebiyatı Bölümünden Female Intelligence and Agency in Agatha Christie's Detective Fiction. Ve son olarak Funda Akhan ve Fatime Kılıç birlikte sunum hazırladılar. Yine İngiliz Dili ve Edebiyatı Bölümünden Special Metaphor and Gothic Psychology in Shutter Island. Sahne sizin. Başarılar diliyorum. Keyifli.
Doğrudan bir çeviri yaptılar.
Evet.
Stage konferanslar
Böyle bir herhalde kayıt için değil mi?
Evet.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fakültemiz and I'm a student in the Department of English Language and Literature at Artvin University. Today I will discuss the first episode of the second season of Bizleri. My study asks a philosophical question. Under what conditions is a being recognized as a subject? I argue that the android is rejected not simply as it is artificial, but because it is introduced through substitution and judged within a human-centered framework. In humanist thought, subjectivity is often tied to biological origin. We right have challenged that assumption by presenting an android that remembers, responds, and appears effectively meaningful. My study refusal is ideological rather than neutral. Also, I don't read the episode as a universal failure because I read it as one failed case, especially shaped by grief and substitution. The problem subjectivity anchored to biological origin, but my thesis focus on refusal of recognition, not neutral, it is ideological. The episode follows Martha. Martha is the main character. Ash is the husband of Martha. Martha, after Ash dies in a car accident, in Hungary, she turns to a service that reconstructs him from digital traces, first as text, then as voice, finally as a body. This sequence matters because the android is never introduced as an independent being. It is an imitation of Ash. From the beginning, it is framed as attempt recovery of what has been lost. This study has 3 aims. The first one is, I examine whether the android displays traits associated with subjectivity, such as affect, memory, and rational response. The second one is, I question whether biological origin is really necessary for recognition. The third one is, I show how substitution shapes the entire relationship from the beginning. Theoretical framework and methodology. To approach these questions, I mainly use Hayes and Braidotti. Hayes helps explains the fallacy that identity can be extracted from embodied life as information and then reinstalled as well. Braidotti, by contrast, understands subjectivity as rational and affective rather than biological case. Methodologically, I use close textual analysis of four themes focusing on embodiment, recognition, affect, and exclusion. The first theme is the android arrives as a body from the beginning. The main character, Martha, is shocked. You can easily see. The photos we keep tend to flattering. It is looking like Ash on his best days since social media photos tend to be flattering. The second theme is lying beside Martha, the android neither breathes nor sleeps, and Martha is shocked because he cannot breathe or he cannot do anything while lying on the bed. Finally, she is mad because she said, if you are going to pretend to be asleep, you could at least breathe. Dita understands Martha is mad at Ash because he is not original Ash. Another scene, the cliff scene, Martha orders the android to jump. It is response, if you are absolutely sure, no resistance, you can jump from the cliff, she said. Then Ash accepted, but Martha doesn't accept this sequence. The episode doesn't fully resolve whether his response is consciousness, mimicry, or something in between. That uncertainty is exactly what makes the scene significant. The last scene, a tip ending. Martha neither destroys the android nor accepts it fully because she throws it away from the ending. The ending offers not resolution, but we can understand the suspicion. Taken together, these scenes show the collapse of substitution. The android may resemble Ash, but resemblance is not enough because, as I said, Ash is not an original android. The android is imitation of the Hollywood. That's why the episode remains unsettling. Harris explains the limit of data and Braidotti explains the importance of relational recognition. Here I want to highlight the wider implication of the analysis. First, embodiment. As Braidotti said, having a body is not sufficient. The android has an exact body, but as I said, he is not original, still excluded from the relational network. The substitution, the android enters as a stand-in, not as a new subject. The relationship is measured against what was lost. Finally, we can understand the boundary between human and non-human turns out to be unstable. What matters is not only what a being is, but how it is encountered and judged. So the episode doesn't prove that post-human intimacy is impossible. It shows only one failed case shaped by grief and substitution. To conclude, the right back is not simply a study about grief or imitation. It is a study about the conditions under which subject is granted or denied. The android displays more than responsiveness, effective presence. The deeper problem is, I argue, lies in the logic of substitution. The android is introduced not as a being in its own right, but as a replacement for the dead body, Ash's body. For that reason, I read the episode as only one failed encounter that exposes the limits of human-centered ontology. These are the main sources informing my argument. Thank you for listening. Do we have any questions?
If we have time for questions.
Actually, I have a question. So, what does mean post-humanism?
Post-humanism? From the beginning, the post-humanism is encounter humanism. Humanism focuses on the human. we can see Edmund E story. I'm sure you all know that story. We are human and the earth is only for us. The humanism focuses on this idea, but post-humanism says we are just human, we are alive, but we can see another animals, maybe artificial intelligence or plants. Just we are the one, not the whole. Okay, I finished.
Another question? I have one question, an easy one. So this is an episode from Black Mirror.
Yes.
And Black Mirror has many episodes, and I like to watch Black Mirror as well, so I watched all the episodes. Why did you choose this one specifically? Because as far as I know, there are many episodes with the theme of Android as well.
Yes.
So what is the reason for choosing this specific episode?
I chose this episode because when I watched the episode, I saw Martha, and her grief is really emotional, and being emotional person and living with an android, it is very interesting for me. That's why I chose.
Another question, but I want to make a comment, Furkan. Thank you for your presentation. It was inspiring. And the topic you have discussed today is also very contemporary, because in our time right now, the AI is integrated into our life. And we also discussed whether artificial intelligence and the android can be categorized as something that have consciousness and that we can label them as individual beings in that sense. And this episode is also very important while discussing this issue because, as you have said, the android fails in the episode because Martha doesn't see him as a different individual actually. She has some expectation. She expects him to be the old husband.
Yes.
In that sense, since she doesn't provide a space for him to act and think for himself, then the android fails. So posthumanism is a very good theory in that sense in order to analyze this topic. And the most important part is that the android, the artificial intelligence, can imitate every human related activities and abilities, but they cannot imitate emotions and affective effects. So that is the most distinctive part of being a human being and being an android actually. In today, for example, ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence programs actually try to understand how human beings try to think, they react to other issues as well. So that is the only thing that separates human beings from artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So I wanted to say this. Thank you again.
Exactly, because the android doesn't deserve this station because Martha like that, you are Ash, please act like Ash, but he doesn't know his memory, his emotions, his anything. That's why, thank you for coming.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much for coming. We have Esra Çalık from the English Language and Literature Department, Female Intelligence and Agency in Agatha Christie's Detective Fiction. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Esra Çalık and today I will talk about female intelligence and agency in Agatha Christie's detective fiction. In this presentation, I focus on Miss Marple as a character who challenged traditional ideas about authority, knowledge and power. I will mainly look at how Christie presents female intelligence not as weakness, but as an effective way of seeing and understanding the truth. This slide presents my primary text of my study. My analysis focuses on Miss Marple novels by Agatha Christie, The Murder of the Vicarage and A Caribou Mystery. The Murder of the Vicarage published in 1930 and The Caribou Mystery published in 1964. I choose these novels because they allow me to examine how Miss Marple's intelligence, social position, and interpretive power develop across different moments in Christie's work. To begin with, detective fiction has often been shaped by masculine models of knowledge and authority. In many traditional detective stories, power belongs to the male characters who are linked to the reason, institution, and public visibility. Women, by contrast, are usually placed in domestic or secondary roles. Miss Marple challenged this structure. Through her, Christie shows that careful social observation and everyday knowledge can also produce truth, so the domestic sphere becomes not a weak space, but an analytical one. Through these two novels, I argue that Agatha Christie questioned patriarchal ideas about who is recognized as capable of knowledge, interpretation, and authority in detective fiction. Although Miss Marple is often underestimated because of her age, gender, and domestic position, Christie turned this marginality into a form of epistemological strength. My central claim is that agency doesn't always came from formal power. In Miss Marple's case, it emerged from the margins. For this reason, I argue that Miss Marple transforms marginality into epistemological authority. Feminist criticism helps us to see that intelligence is not simply natural. It is socially interpreted and often shaped by patriarchal assumptions about who can speak, know, and be taken seriously. This is particularly relevant to Miss Marple because she occupies a socially marginal position as an older woman associated with domestic life. Yet Christie turns this apparent limitation into a source of authority. For this reason, I focus on concepts such as gender, intelligence, authority and agency, visibility and epistemology. These concepts help me explain how Miss Marple gains interpretive power from a position that is unimportant. So, the theoretical framework supports my main argument that intelligence and authority are culturally gendered constructs. In terms of method, I use close-reading and comparative textual analysis. I focus on Miss Marple's investigative process, especially how she observes people, interprets behavior, and reaches conclusions. I also compared her method with more traditional male detective models. These novels are useful because both show how Miss Marple works through social knowledge rather than institutional authority. My first key finding is that Christie expands the meaning of intelligence in detective fiction. In many traditional models, intelligence is associated with distance, logic, and formal authority. Christie offers a different model. In Miss Marple's case, intelligence is rooted in attention to detail, memory, human behavior, and social comprehension. She doesn't solve crime by dominating others or by using institutional power. She solves it by recognizing patterns in ordinary life. So, Christie presents intelligence not as something abstract or detached, but as something socially grounded and interpreted. My second finding focuses on the difference between power and agency. Power is usually visible. It is public, official, and easy to recognize. Agency, however, can work in quieter way. It can operate through timing, social awareness, and strategic self-positioning. Miss Marple doesn't control the investigation in obvious way, yet she shapes it constantly. She asks questions, guides conversation, and allows others to reveal more than they intended. In this sense, her social invisibility is not simply the weakness, it's become a method. Christie shows that a person may lack public power and still exercise strong influence over how truth is discovered. These findings matter beyond Miss Marple as an individual character. They show that Christie reversed the rules of detective fiction from within. She questioned the assumption that valid knowledge must came from official masculine or institutional position. She also elevates domestic and communal space, showing that these spaces are not heretical to truth, but central to it. This means that Christie is not only writing mysteries, she is also reshaping the cultural logic behind who is believed, who is ignored, and what counts as knowledge. From this perspective, Miss Marple becomes important not only as a detective, but also challenge the genre's hierarchy of authority. So, there is no detective in England equal to spinster Raydoff of a certain age with plenty of time and her. This quotation is important because it captures Christie's irony very clearly. Phrase spinster Raydoff's uncertain age sounds dismissive at first. It reflects social stereotype rather than admiration. But Christie reverses that stereotype by making it basis of Miss Marple's effectiveness. What society reads as a useless actually become investigate advance. Because she is underestimated, she is free to observe without resistance. So, in this they are not simply descriptive. It reveals how Christie converts socially diminished figure into the most perceptive person in the room. Human knowledge as an insight into human nature. Observing human nature for as long as I have done, one gets not to accept very much from it. This quotation highlights Miss Marple's deep understanding of human nature. Her knowledge doesn't come from formal training, but from observation and experience. This supports my argument that everyday female knowledge can function as real intelligence. Women's institution is dismissed. They wouldn't listen to me for a moment. They would say that I was an old lady imagining truths. This final quotation shows that people are ready to dismiss an elderly woman's perception. They assume she is imagining things instead of taking her seriously. At this time, Christie shows that this prejudice is wrong because Miss Marple's insight proves to be accurate. Taken together, these quotations show that Christie consistently links femininity, observation, and intelligence. Conclusion. To conclude, Miss Marple redefines intelligence and agency in detective fiction. Christie challenges masculine assumptions about authority, reason, and truth. She shows that feminine knowledge can become central to solving crime and understanding people. For this reason, Miss Marple is still relevant today, especially in discussion about gender, power, and visibility. Thank you for your listening.
Yes, questions? Comments?
I have one, if nobody else has. As you imagine, I loved your presentation. Whenever I hear something about women, female authors, of course, I'm very, very happy. So, congratulations. It was really nice. So your title was Female Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you also speak about female knowledge of human nature, something. So, does Agatha Christie suggest that there is a different kind of intelligence when we say female intelligence? Is it different than male intelligence? Is this what Agatha Christie says? That women have a different kind of intelligence or knowledge of the human nature? Or is this your comment?
When I searched these quotations, I think that women have different power than men because we are gossiping, you know.
No, I don't know.
While Miss Marple gossiping, she investigates the problems, who is the killer, because the others are underestimated her because of her age. And I feel she's some kind of criticized in her
Okay, so this is both your opinion and also Agatha Christie's somehow. That women have a different kind of intelligence than men.
Yes.
I disagree, but okay. Thank you.
And I have another comment as well, since Florentino mentioned that females may have some kind of different intelligence. It can be also said that because being a detective is always ascribed to male, so why cannot a woman be a detective as well? So that can be another criticism of Agatha Christie in that sense. Yes, women have different kind of intelligence maybe, but also we cannot ascribe some kind of jobs or occupations to only one gender. It is also another perspective. Thank you for your presentation. Again, it was a lively, enjoyable presentation.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Funda Akman and Fatime Kılıç to present their study on spatial metaphor and Gothic psychology in Shutter Island.
Welcome everyone. My name is Fulaka and I'm a student in English Language and Literature Department. Today we will present spatial metaphor and Gothic psychology in Shutter Island. Here's my friends.
Hello everyone, my name is Fatime Kılıç. I'm a student in English Language and Literature Department.
Today we will present Shutter Island movie, which addressing the spatial metaphor and the Gothic psychology. This presentation aims to explore the lasting effects of trauma on individuals, the depth of subconscious, and the inner conflicts of the human psychology. I hope so this presentation helps you understand how significant role trauma plays on human psychology. Let's begin with the first page. Depth of subconscious and the inner conflicts of the human psychology. This film, Shutter Island, takes place in 1954. We are on a remote island, in a mental institution called Ashcliffe Hospital. At first, it looks like a typical investigation about a missing patient. But at first, however, it's much deeper than it. The story is presented through Teddy's perspective, which makes reality unclear. These are our protagonists. We can see the photos from the movie. Those images reflect the dark and isolated atmosphere of the island and create a sense of misery and confinement. Overall, it's not just a place, but a reflection of fear and trauma of our protagonists. Here we have the main character, Teddy Daniels. He is an American marshal. And at first, he seems strong and in control. He believes that he is a police chief who has come to the island to find a missing person. On the contrary, he is a patient in this island because he commits a crime. But he didn't aware of this crime. He killed her own wife. His wife killed her children because of mental disorder, because he didn't aware of his illness and didn't pay attention to this such fearful disorder. The other character, Chuck Owl, Teddy is accompanied by him, his partner, but he also feels a bit miserable because he's actually a doctor in this hospital. But Teddy didn't know that. They are trying to treat Teddy Daniels because he's the patient in the hospital. And we have Dr. Cowley, the head of the hospital, who represents the authority. They try to treat Teddy while using some psychological methods. For example, everyone in the hospital acting as if Teddy is a marshal and continue his job like he did in the past. We have Dolores, is Teddy's wife. She feels like a reflection of Teddy's views. She appears in his dreams. She has mental problems and mental disorder caused to kill her own children. Because Teddy is a soldier in the army, he couldn't aware of her wife's illness and commit this crime. After he was so bad and sent to Ashcliffe Hospital. He couldn't aware of his illness, her illness. This crime and kill her children caused to send to hospital. We see at the right side Rachel Salondo, the amazing patient. Is the reason Teddy come to the island. She represents Teddy's mind, which is trying to understand the truth. Rachel Salondo represents Teddy's wife, and now my pets continue.
Now I will continue with some techniques which used in the film. One of them is spatial metaphor. Spatial metaphor uses physical space and some places to understand abstract ideas. In the Shutter Island, it used to reflect Teddy's troubled and confused mind. In the film, the island represents isolation and being trapped. The labyrinth-like spaces show confusion and the complexity of Teddy's mind. In the film, they also represent the rooms in Teddy's mind. In the left picture, we can see he finds himself in a hospital room and suddenly he realizes everything. This symbolizes the Teddy's troubled mind where physical space reflects psychological imprisonment in Shutter Island. And the other one is Gothic. Gothic is a style that uses dark settings, misery, and fear to create a suspense atmosphere. In the film, the isolated island and Ashcliffe Hospital create a Gothic atmosphere. Dark corridors, graves, lighthouse, and shadows show danger and inner darkness of the Teddy. Generally, the film itself is a Gothic because the background of the film, music, character design, all those things represent the Gothic. All those things are the example of the Gothic style. Internal psychology and trauma. Teddy is a deeply traumatized character who cannot move on from his past. We see in the scene Teddy finds a cave when he looks for a clue about the hospital, and there is Rachel Salondo in the woman in there. Another important moment when he experiences hallucinations, such as the woman in the cave tells him that the hospital experimented on patient, on him. This scene reflects his paranoia and his desperate attempt to make sense of reality. Like I said, Teddy Daniels is a traumatized. He experienced a lot of things, a lot of bad things in his life, and he stayed in that. He couldn't move on. That's why he created a new identity for himself, because he wanted to escape from his pain and he couldn't bear them anymore. And also, I would like to give a brief explanation about Teddy's traumas. One of Teddy's traumas is when he was a soldier in World War II. He witnessed the brutal killing and torture of people in Nazi camp, and this left a deep psychological impact on him. Through this, we can better understand the lasting effect of the war on his mental state. Actually, not just on his mental state, on people's mental state. In my opinion, Teddy is a symbol in the movie. Here, his traumas, his hallucinations, his fear, all those things represents people who experienced the World War II. He's a symbol for us, in my opinion. And the last one is the resolution of the last part of the presentation. At the end of the film, it's revealed that the person who thought was Teddy Daniels is actually Andrew Flaherty, a fashion baby trapped at Ashford Hospital. Andrew's wife, Dolores, suffers from severe psychological problems and one day kills their 3 children. In response, Teddy kills her. This trauma is so overwhelming that he cannot accept the reality and creates a new identity for himself. He imagines that he's a police officer named Teddy Daniels. Now we will show you a short video from the last scene in the movie.
This makes me wonder. Yeah, what's that, boss? The truth was, the lamb is a monster. The guy is a good man.
Questions, comments?
Is this a representative of a human mind by, in terms of the vulnerability and isolation? It's a sign of the distance.
Actually, we see Teddy's mind is mixed in the movie. His mind is in prison of this hospital because in the Ashford Hospital, he killed her own wife, and because he killed her own children. Her mental disorder caused to send her to Ashford Hospital, and always this shows the traumatized moments for him.
Thanks for your presentation.
I have one question and a comment. Thank you very much. This is a very interesting example for, I think, multimodal discourse analysis. Multimodality. I was wondering how you found the film. Does it also have a text? Is it a novel? Or did you read it or study it in one of the courses? Or how did you choose or how did you find this movie?
Actually, we know the techniques, gothic, special metaphor. We learned them in the class, and we wanted to express them in a field.
Mm-hmm.
And now we made some research and we find this movie. That's why we used.
So this analysis can also be used in many other movies,
Of
maybe.
course, yes.
So,
Just an example.
yeah, it's a good example for you as the students in the audience as well, right? You can,
Especially now with the practice.
yes, you can study series like Furkan did, or books, novels like Esra did, movies like you did. So this is a very good example for doing some analysis on multimodal sources. Thank you very much.